Good evening and welcome to the regular town council meeting of Tuesday, May the 29th, 2018. May I have everybody join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask Councilman C.Locke if he would lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman C.Locke. I'd like to have a moment of silence, please. Ms. Berry, roll call, please.
Councilman Connolly.
Here, thank you.
Councilman Gillespie.
Here, thank you.
Councilman Meza.
Here.
Councilman Morrison.
Here.
Councilman C.Locke.
Here.
Vice Mayor T-Law.
Here.
And Mayor Tharp.
Here, thank you. All right, approval of record council meetings minutes for May 14, 2018. Can I have a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the regular council meeting minutes of May the 14th, 2018 as presented.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Any corrections? Ms. Berry, roll call.
Councilman Connolly.
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie.
Yes.
Councilman Meza.
Yes.
Councilman Morrison.
Yes.
Councilman C.Locke.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor T-Law.
Yes.
Thank you.
Receipt of petitions or correspondence from the public. Do we have anyone signed up, Ms. Berry?
Yes, Ms. Kolsnick.
Please come to the podium and state your name and your address for the record, please.
Honorable Councilor, my name is Ina Kolasnik.
Ma'am, could you get a little closer to your microphone, please? Thank you.
Yes.
We want to hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, this is first. Honorable Councilors like this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Ina Kolasnik. I'm a small business owner located in downtown Front Royal. It's a jewelry store called Nicole Jewelry Designs. And let me explain what brought me here. My husband and I opened the store in 2002 and been running since at that time. And being in jewelry business, security was always of concern of ours, and we have been always on high alert of possible kidnapping, robberies, hostage situation. So we equipped our premises with alarm system and security camera, surveillance security camera. We parked our cars on behind of our business to prevent any tampering with our cars and avoid situation when we will be followed by criminals and stop en route on the side of the road. And all our precautions work well for us until our neighbor David Downs started restricting our parking on the back of our business. And this happened in April of 2017. Our property situated the way we have to cross his property to be able to park on our spot. And he started restricting our access and first explaining to my husband that he is doing this because our neighbor tenants were rude to him. Later his rhetoric, and we will have access and promising us everything. Then later his rhetoric changed and he started saying this is because he's restricting access because it's ABC requirements. Okay. My husband and I consulted with Joe Silek about the situation, and he said that we have rights for easement by prescription since we've been using this property for more than 20 years, which is prescriptive period in Virginia. And we've been using this property adversely, notoriously, independently, continuously, which meets all of the requirements for easement by prescription. Okay, we signed the letter of engagement with Joe Silek to take the case to the court, but my husband suddenly passed away in June of last year. Okay, dealing with all the consequences of this loss, I put this case on the side. And I continued to run the business alone, and in this situation, when I'm running the business alone, single woman, security became even my higher priority, and because it's so vulnerable, and also I have a 16-year-old daughter. And David Down continued restricting access to our parking spot at the back of entrance of jewelry store. And eventually I'm taking this case to the court. This is issue of security after all. Okay, last Monday, may I pass the pictures for you to see what I'm talking
Could you give those to the clerk, please?
Thank you.
On May 21st, when we came to the back entrance of our door, we noticed two men surveying and measuring the area and asked what is the survey is for. And they said for the fence to be installed. Okay. A little bit later that day, I noticed that on the back of our property, the asphalt was cut. So I went to planning and zoning and asked if they issued the permit already. And I found out the permit was already issued. Okay? And the permit was issued for 6 feet tall fence for beer museum, because on the base of it's David Down's private property. Okay. While it is true it is private property, the fence for me as a jewelry store owner creates a perfect scene for crime, as it's blocked the view, creates the obstruction of view from Chester Street for patrolling cars. And see, one of our precautions for safety was to have our entrance door in clear view from the street for people who pass by or police cars, as long as it's open view. Now it will create the obstruction of view. And it's always lit with the light during the night for the same purpose, to make a clear view of this. In addition to creating obstruction to view from Chester Street, the fence that is being in process of installed now makes perfect sense for a robbery, and it provides ideal hiding for criminals, waiting for us to enter or leave the premises. And furthermore, it prevents us from escaping in case of confrontations with criminals. Okay, another case, fire. This fence just blocks us completely from the exiting from the back door, and in case of fire, my daughter, myself, and customers in the store, they have limited access in case of fire. Also, on the back of the building, there are 2 tanks, gas tanks, and electric meter. How are those utilities going to be served? I asked the director of zoning and planning, he had no answer to this. Okay, having so many questions unanswered, I decided to look in town of Front Royal Municipal Code and see how all of this complies with town's regulation for historic downtown area. What surprised me was the fact that this fence wasn't approved by Board of Architectural Review, as it should be. The proposed fence shows no thought of consideration had been given to BAR's concerns about beauty, aesthetics, and preserving history. Town of Front Royal Municipal Code required the approval of Board of Architectural Review for construction rotation, which would have substantial effect on the character of historic district, end of quotation, provision 175-89 of Municipal Code. I do believe that 6-foot tall fence would affect the downtown aesthetics and should be approved by Board of Architectural Review and public voting as a construction that would permanently affect the character of Front Royal Historic District. The Front Royal Municipal Code for the historic downtown was specifically created to avoid situations like this. And construction of this space is so wrong on so many levels. The town Front Royal Municipal Court also directed that the planning and zoning department approval could be appealed at the town councilor. That is why I came to talk to you. And for you to take a look at the situation from your point of view, and in view of benefiting the whole community since it relates to historic district. Thank you for your time.
That's quite all right. Joe, could you and Doug reach out and see if this needs to stay in Mr. Silik's court, or if there's anything that the town should need to take a look at, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else signed up, Ms. Benner?
That was the only one, Mr.
All right,
Mayor.
thank you. We'll have Mr. Napier and the town manager reach out to you tomorrow to get with you on this. Thank you. All right, report of special committees or town officials, town manager. Joe?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to remind the citizens that we're going to be closing Chrysler Road Bridge next Monday, June 4th. This will allow for construction of the new bridge there on Chrysler Road. That'll be closed for 3 months. We're hoping to open that bridge back open by September 4th. We continue with improvements along East Chrysler Road with additional curb and gutter. We plan to get that completed before we do paving as soon as school lets out. So while you're in that area, please drive with caution. And lastly, I'd like to let the citizens know that we plan to hold a business forum meeting on June 7th at Town Hall at 6 p.m. It's a community-wide meeting, but the main focus is with business and property owners downtown area. But anybody, any citizen that would like to have an issue addressed or have some information can attend to that as well. And that concludes my report for tonight, Mayor.
Any questions on the report, Joe? Okay. Joe, I have one. Are we going to put any kind of signage up there in the next day or two to let people know that on June the 4th, do not come this way because it's going to be closed? Or how are we handling that?
We've been doing public notices, but we can get a sign out there. I'll try to get something out there tomorrow if I can.
Okay, because I'm sure we'll have a lot of people come from Rappahannock that may want to turn left or whatever, but thank you for everything you can do. All right, moving on to requests and inquiries of town council members. Hearing none, report of the mayor being none. Proposal, deletions, and additions to the items to the agenda. Hearing none, moving on to consent agenda items. Council approval of a resolution of Employee Appreciation Week, paint the town purple. Oh, she's not ready, sorry. Felicia's not ready for her report tonight. We'll catch you hopefully in 2 weeks. Thank you, John, for catching that too. Proclamation paint the town purple month and the Fifth Amendment lease with Comcast.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Berry, roll call required.
Councilman Connolly?
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Councilman Morrison?
Yes.
Councilman Seelock?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor T-Law?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, number 8, public hearing. Ordinance to amend Town Code Section 158-6, adoption by reference to the state motor vehicle laws. This will be a first reading, Mr. Berry.
Council is requested to affirm on its first reading an ordinance to amend and reenact Front Royal Town Code Sections 158-6 pertaining to adoption by reference to the state motor vehicular laws as presented.
This meeting is now open. Ms. Berry, do we have anyone signed up?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
Public hearing is now closed, gentlemen.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council affirm on its first reading an ordinance to amend and reenact Front Royal Town Code Section 158-6 pertaining to adoption by reference to the state motor vehicular laws as presented.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, in regards to the decision tonight on this, is we're just following state law, and what the General Assembly passed this year, we have to reintroduce those things and pass them ourselves so that we can write the tickets and things that's required under these new laws.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Berry?
Councilman Connolly?
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Councilman Morrison?
Yes.
Councilman Seelock?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor T-Law?
Yes.
All right. Moving Moving on to number 9, council approval, utility donation for the Warren Heritage Society. Ms. Barrett.
Council is requested to consider a utility donation to the Warren Heritage Society in the amount of $15,000 for the current budget year. Well, for the 2018-19 budget year, excuse me.
Gentlemen, your pleasure.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council approve the utility donation in the amount of $15,000 to the Warren Heritage Society.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, Ms. Barrett, roll call.
Councilman Connolly?
Oh, excuse me, Ms. Barrett, hold on just one second.
Excuse me.
Bill?
I've done a lot of discussion, not only with the president of society, but the acting director. And my first approach was that tax dollars spent on the 5013C tax-free concern. I'm really concerned about tax dollars being spent in that manner. We've had this discussion before. I've come to the conclusion that after this lengthy discussion today, that the Heritage Society does an exceptional job that government facilities doesn't within this community. They have some financial issues that I can verify, I've looked at, and it's clear that volunteers are needed to support this organization. And I highly recommend that this community really get behind the society with not only volunteers but financial aid. And I also had a discussion today about grants versus dollars. You know, we're not approached by the society with a grant that says, will the town match dollars to a grant? We're expected to pay up front $15,000 on not only the water, but the sewer and electricity. If the council truly believes that Heritage Society support is needed in this community, then there's got to be some alternative methods, such as other grants, and I've asked the town manager to look into some of this. But in conclusion, not only do they expect the dollars, and I understand that we waived their electricity bills for the past year, and if they go over $15,000, they pay. If they are under $15,000, they don't pay. I understand all that. But I'm going to have to vote in support of this measure tonight because I understand fully the situation now that I didn't understand previously. So I appreciate your time, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I second what Councilman Seelock says. The only thing that I wanted to reiterate is what I said in the work session, which is I do believe that going forward with either utility breaks or monies donated or given to charitable organizations within our town, that we need to have some sort of application process, criteria that is being met in order for us to justify using taxpayer dollars to fund these organizations. To be honest with you, I think the Heritage Society is a great organization to support, but I do believe that there are a lot of other great organizations that we could support as well. And so how do we differentiate the requests that are coming into town council? Right now, there is no criteria. It is just kind of at the whim of town council whether or not they want to support it. The county didn't give any additional funds to the Heritage Society. And so now we are going to be back in the position of supporting fully the utilities, which is fine. We anticipated that was probably going to happen this year. But going forward, and I'll be on council next year, I want an application process for anybody requesting funds with criteria, funds from town council, so that we have some strict guidelines to go by when granting requests for utility breaks. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? All right, Ms. Gray, can we have a roll call now?
Councilman Connolly?
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Councilman Morrison?
Yes.
Councilman Seelock?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor T-Wall?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, council approval, budget amendment, bid, construction of West Main Street, Connector Phase 1 project, Ms. Berry.
Council is requested to approve a budget amendment in the amount of $650,000 to accept funds from the EDA Access Program, the Economic Development Access Program, to be applied towards the construction costs of the West Main Connector Phase 1 project. Council is also requested to approve the bid from GB Foltz Contracting in the amount of $1,082,975.58 for the construction of the West Main Connector Phase 1 project. Council is further requested to approve the use of funds carried forward from previous years to fund Phase 1 and allow Phase 2 to be funded by the New Market Tax Credit Program.
Gentlemen, your pleasure.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council approve a budget amendment in the amount of $650,000 to accept funds from the Economic Development Access Program to be applied towards the construction costs of West Main Connector Phase 1 project. And the council also approved the bid from GB Foltz Contracting Incorporated in the amount of $1,082,975.58 for the construction of the West Main Connector Phase 1 project. I further move that the funds be carried forward from previous years to completely fund Phase 1 of the West Main Street Connector project and allow Phase 2 to be funded by the New Market Tax Credit Program.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'm a little bit confused. I'm hopeful that someone can clarify things for me. My understanding to this point was that we were just going to do Phase 1. We were not going to build Phase 2 until we had need of it. Is that still the case, or did I misunderstand that? And then how is that reflecting the motion here saying that we are going to move forward with funding for Phase 2 immediately?
We are just looking at Phase 1 in this motion. We're not looking at the second or third phase.
So,
That is correct. We're only looking at Phase 1 right now. We just put that Phase 2 out there to make a mark to show that we were going to use all the funds that we've got accumulated at this point for Phase 1.
So is it my understanding that the last sentence in this motion is any residual funds are to be carried forward to Phase 2? No?
That's correct.
Full funds to be used towards Phase 1, anything left over be carried over to use towards Phase 2.
That's correct.
And any more taxes that are collected in the future will still go towards Main Street, correct, BJ?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
But to Councilman Conley's concern, we are not moving forward on Phase 2, funding Phase 2, creating additional funds for Phase 2 right now.
That is correct. We have no intentions at this point to move forward on Phase 2.
Anyone else? Ms. Berry? Roll call.
Councilman Connolly?
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Councilman Morrison?
Yes.
Councilman Seelow?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Tebow?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilman Seelock, can you lead us into close, please?
Give a chance to get there.
No problem.
I move the council convene and go into closed meeting for discussion and consideration of assignment, appointment, promotion, or performance of specific appointees or employees of the town specific to the planning commission pursuant to section 2.2-3711.A.1 of the Code of Virginia.
Second.
Motion second. Ms. Berry?
Councilman Connolly?
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Councilman Morrison?
Yes.
Councilman Seelow?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Tebow?
Yes.
Thank you.